Just a
That's
minute.
what I'm here
Here we
for.
go.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons you're here for, not the only one. Okay, so let's start again. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our course, KM, from strategy through change management to business impact. Today, we are ending the change management cluster, which we had several sessions that spoke on this topic. And we will be speaking about something that is in our mind and is, I won't say disturbing us, but it is an issue. How do we measure the KM impact? And I see here that Alexander is with us, that he always asks the question, but how can it be measured? How do I show that we do have an impact? So, Alexander, it's not only for you today, but it's also for you this session. Today, Hank, well, UK, one of our UK KM colleagues, one of the leading KM colleagues that is in the KM, a KM leader, partner, specialist, practitioner, and also an author of Creating Value from Knowledge book. And he deals with learning, innovation, collaboration, and digital. What can I say? A dear friend, meet Hank. Hank,
Okay,
the
hello.
floor is yours.
Hello there, everyone, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I'm delighted to be here to talk around a subject which is very close to my heart. I've been in knowledge and management for probably over 25 years now, and it's one of the biggest challenges we face. And in fact, I'm sure a lot of our fellow KMGN members face the same challenges, and that's actually showing real business benefit, real business outcomes for our knowledge projects. Been reading a lot recently about AI is going to revolutionize KM. It's true to an element, but I think still very much in our own core field, we are responsible for producing value and impact. So what I'm going to share with you today is a very high level approach to getting started with measuring KM impact. We'll have a couple of exercises, and then I'm going to show you some examples of, and try to maybe just lead the way around what we call a KM process measure and a KM impact measure, which is so critical for us. And then I'd like to give you a takeaway of maybe identifying 3 or 4 key business benefits which might help you to come on track. So that's myself. As Moira said, I've been in the field for about 25 years. I think Vincent's on the call, and I work very closely with Vincent on the Mike Awards and also certified knowledge management. And I focus on the energy sector. So the first one we're going to kick off right away. And Moira, you're going to facilitate this, yes? Yep. Really, I'd like to ask you, what are the top 3 challenges you're facing when trying to show the value or trying to capture the benefits of KM in your organization? What are the things that are keeping you up at night when you're struggling to show the value and the
And
benefits?
we want everyone to answer on the chat, not only one by one and then only 10% answer. So everyone think 3 top challenges. What's on top of your mind?
Give you a couple of minutes for that.
Here, Anahit is starting. Thank you, Anahit. Please join in.
Because I'm sure we all have had challenges with capturing, describing the benefits of KM. Okay, are some coming in, Moira?
Yes, yes.
Give it a couple more minutes. Okay, are we good?
Okay, now do you want me to help you with the chat, or do you see the chat, Hank?
I don't see the chat. Maybe just
So I will call.
jump
I
out to
will.
a couple, and I'll try to.
Okay. So if I start from the beginning, we'll do it to convince leadership. It's important. Reporting on the pre-established metrics, how to measure success in real terms, how to record challenges and failures so that mistakes won't get repeated, to demonstrate value that is credible, that makes sense to the key decision makers, to make sharing voluntarily, to demonstrate short-term and quick benefits, culture resistance and user adoption, hard to measure how much use people get from tacit knowledge interviews, or even how much Copilot references transcripts in answers, hard to assign a value to internal initiatives, hard to measure difference made, the distance between the KM activities and the ROI is too great. It doesn't reflect the benefits, quantifying the benefits when qualitative value is dismissed, opening the door. They are so busy with handling the urgent issues. Just knowing what to measure and present, getting a real world issue from a business leader that will secure his financial bonus if reached. What elements of the program to pick to show the value of the program? What are the wows? To focus on the quantitative results. Why should I pay for this? Who will spend extra time on this? Where and how to see the results? Wonderful, the questions.
That's amazing, amazing feedback. So we're all suffering the same pain. That's
and we had several additional ones, but all in the same spirit.
Okay, that's fantastic. So you'll capture these more and share with me later, and we can adapt those.
Yes, I know that you will use it. So those who we didn't listen to their answers. These will help Hank when we continue and when you will be the exercise. Yes.
Fantastic. Good. So what I'm going to do now is first of all share an approach which I've used for quite a lot in the past, just to take an approach to measuring KM, and then I'm going to break it down into specifics around process and outcomes. So really, when you're kicking this off, it's a 6-stage approach, and I'll give you the highlights here. But you need to build, first of all, that relationship with the business stakeholders as soon as possible. So when you're called on to run a project, or ideally from the top down, you need to build that value very quickly, and you need to capture where the real pain is. I always believe in the rule of 3, which if you go to the board, if you're lucky enough to go to the board, is ask them for the top 3 key pains where knowledge management can help. Really focus from very much from day one. If they're already using metrics in your organization, don't create new ones. Use those and adapt those. Again, business users will be far more competent and willing to work with you if they're metrics which they already understand. So I've done quite a bit of work in the past with Six Sigma and Lean, where it's a very specific process steps, measurement, metrics. Wrap it around something which is already on board. I'm going to show you we have plenty of qualitative or process-based measurements, and I'm going to argue the so what question. So we're having 50 people a day hitting our SharePoint site, or we're collaborating with 50 members of a community of practice. That's very much qualitative, process-based. It's not outcome or benefit generalization. Map that also with quantitative. So this is really where you get your biggest bang for the buck, so to speak, where you can actually have a ROI and a measurement behind this, and make it in pounds, dollars, in a quantifiable benefit behind that. And then also look at both direct and indirect, because ourselves as KMers, I believe that we impact both. And again, it's for ourselves to be able to shape a business proposition and a business plan to measure both areas behind that. Okay, so I'm going to walk through briefly the six-stage approach, um, just to give you a bit of guidance when you kick it off as a project. And indeed, do try to kick it off as a KM project. Don't think of it as just an afterthought at the end of a KM project. It's something that you should be considering very much from day one. And that is actually, first of all, agreeing the scope of what you're trying to measure, because KM is so all-encompassing. What is it is exactly that we're trying to measure? Is it a particular project-based scope? Is it something around maybe learning or communities or a business functional directorate approach? So agree the boundary, because we're not going to boil the ocean, so to speak. Second point is to identify business objectives. And again, as I said before, really map your whole KM program to the company or organizational functional department objectives. Don't try to create separate KM objectives. And I can tell you that through lessons learned and some failures, that if you create a KM objective which doesn't link back to the business needs, the chances for failure are quite high. And again, as I said, if there's existing KM measures, just assess their ability to the overall business program behind that. So it's business driven, focused first. And happy if there's chats, Moira, in the comments, so I'm happy to take them.
Okay.
If not, I'll continue. Yeah. Okay. So the next one then is about generating a high-level business justification. So again, potentially this with a KM program. So you need to go convince the financial director, the value of running the KM program. You need to have some metrics in place to which you hope you're going to be able to aspire. So, for example, if it is, faster time to accessing documents and content, try to put some kind of monetary figure on that, or a time-based approach. If it's around human capital, look at some of the human capital metrics, which I'm going to discuss later, because again, in my career, they fit almost as close to knowledge management measurements. That's the human capital metrics. And if you Google that, you'll find a lot of examples of human capital measurement metrics around people, process, content. The fourth point is around selecting your approach. So if you're looking at, as I said before, if you're looking at something which is quantitative and qualitative, make sure it's a blend, but focus, if you can, on the quantitative side first. So that is the return on investment. And it's certainly the hardest thing to do, but if you can work around that approach, you're going to be far more beneficial than the second area, which is the qualitative one, which again, we're very strong in the KM world around things such as storytelling and communities of practices. They're a blend of measures, but I would actually, happy to please challenge me, but I think those are the weaker metrics around a high performing community. I'd come back to the challenge of the so what question. How is it helping me to save money, reduce costs, to win business? So I think we need to map it and blend it to the various measurements behind that. And then the fifth element, which I want to spend some time on, which again, something I'm sure you're familiar with, but it really helps to increase the coverage, is to identify between process-based and outcome measures, because they are very different and very important. So if you look at the process measures, they're very much individual, group, organizational behaviors, change management, ways of working, process measures. The second amount are the outcome measures, which are very much more results-based, and then invariably should be quantifiable. These are the outcomes of why we do things. And I think a lot of the time in knowledge management, we fail to adequately share the differences between process-based and outcome measurements. Any questions, Moira, coming up, or chat?
Not at a minute.
Okay.
Not at the moment. Please continue.
All right. So to drill down a little bit more.
Oh yes, there is something that I missed.
Please.
I think that it was what if we have no metrics or out of the box analytics, which gives us nearly nothing? What do we do?
Yep, that's a good question. There are, and I'm going to share with you a little later on, there are some agreed KM ROI measurements which you can take in and you can take place. And again, I'm going to have a little exercise there to try to identify two or three for you to capture. But and they will fall around things such as around something around sales, performance, human capital, with metrics behind that, and then you can shape that about that. Let's leave that for later. But that's a really good question behind it. So on this slide then about process and outcomes. So as I said before, and again, this is where I think where a lot of KM projects fail or miss the point, is that they focus on the measurements, such as usage statistics. And again, with technology and with SharePoints and Copilot, they're easy to capture. But they're more qualitative, and these are what we position as leading indicators. So they can influence change behaviors and processes. But I would argue by themselves they're relatively weak, and I'm going to give you examples on the next slide. So this is the number of hits, as I said, to our portal page, or the number of community responses, or the number of community replies. I think in this current age, with finance and with cost measurement, I think we need to be a lot tighter than that when we're demonstrating value and benefits. The second amount is around, I think, the more important thing, and that's the outcome measures or the impact measurements. So these are more difficult to validate, and it's because it's based on the result of a multitude of factors, and these are what we call the lagging indicators, and these are clear quantitative records of evidence of delivery. They should be ideally they should be monetary, either cost saving or cost generation, and they should be outcome focused. So I think this is something which we need to really focus on. So, for example, I said about customer win rates. So there's a lot of good work going on in the in knowledge-centered services world, customer services, where customer services organizations put a lot of emphasis around things such as customer retention rates, or customer win rates, or customer satisfaction rates, and they're applying KM as a benefit measurement metric behind that, because the call agents have access to the knowledge bases, and they have access to tacit knowledge, which will then allow them to delight the customer more and to increase benefits. So that's an example of that. The other thing, and I'd love to get your responses back here, is that in a lot of projects, we as KMers, we are major influences to business performance benefits, but we need to have a seat at the table. So again, I think it may be more indirect benefits to allow us to do this. So, for example, I've had a lot of success with lessons learned and learning from experience in different organizations. And there it's creating the lessons learned knowledge base, creating lessons learned insights from projects with a monetary value. So indirectly, we have an impact to the success of the project. Now, to do that, you need to get the support of the project directors on board, the accountants, the finance director, to really fly our flag that we were key supporters behind this, even though it's more of an indirect benefit behind that. And then, of course, the last element is around publishing the results. It's so critical that we need to package our results, show them, present them in nice professional dashboards, performance scorecards, and now with things such as Copilot and Power BI and Power Automate, you can produce some very nice high impact results showing KM business benefits, which again, I think traditionally we've been really weak at doing. Does anyone agree with that statement on the call, Moira? Open up the question.
You see that Jeanne and some people agree. Jeanne is saying yes to that. And she's asking how to create just now lessons learned with a monitoring value. And Tracy is also asking a question, but first of all, you have a yes. And I think that you have some additional agreements with your framework. And Tracy is asking, Would you say it's easier to create metrics for some industries more than others? For example, customer service KM metrics versus construction KM metrics?
That's a really good question. I think certainly if so my background is energy and engineering, and I think certainly where you are building things, constructing things, designing, you can measure the metrics quite well. I think customer services, call centers is another area which is really getting some higher impact on this. I think something which we struggle in is potentially across government or across professional services, because that's very much more heavily information records, document based components behind that. So to answer the question, I think certainly more on the left field, engineering, building, construction. It's easier to measure more tangible things, so the carbon cladding for well pipes or the construction of major buildings and foundations. It's stronger. It's easier to capture on that side than more of the professional, softer side. But that's my opinion.
So I'll say that there are several places where it's easy. For example, customer experience, customer service, because it's all based on first level, second level quantities, measuring, etc. It's easy also in places like in specific industries or in specific organizations where measurement is high. So it's easy. So they measure everything. So it's easier also to measure KM.
Yeah.
And all the other places, we work
the other area, which again, I think we've missed the opportunity, and we, as a knowledge management industry, needs to link much closer with program and project management, because we're intricately linked. So again, I think KM being wrapped around a project management methodology with stage gates to capture learnings from and capture the benefits is a crucial thing that we need to get a lot closer with. And that's so again, the answer to the question: project management. Be friends with your project managers.
Thank you.
Okay, so I want to focus on this slide now in a little bit more depth. So this is just to give an example, as I was saying, around process measures and outcomes. And I split this up into 3 areas around individual, groups, and organization. So the whole individual level there, and again, I'm sure we've seen this many times before, contributions to a document, contributions to adding documents to a repository site. And then you'll get the elements around improved sharing of information, faster expert to knowledge and expertise. Those are process measures. They're leading indicators. They're not actually telling me what we're doing to improve, to make things more beneficial. So on the right-hand side, the outcomes. This is where you need to think about specifics around specific outcomes with very much more kind of actionable verbs. So sharing of documents, faster time to develop a document. Think about a quantitative time, about how much time that's saving you. Improved quality assurance, reducing the amount of time to quality to assure documents, faster competency development, and faster speed of problem resolution. Again, this is where you need to talk to your business teams to try to get those anecdotal captures. It's taken us, it's reduced the amount of time to resolve that decision by X amount. On the group side of it, this is one where I feel we focus too much on the whole aspect around collaboration and communities. And we risk in that becoming very much more softer, qualitative measurements. And, again, I use the so what question. So we have 50 members contributing to a community portal. Where are the benefits behind that? So again, you need to quantify things around things such as reduced project lifetime cycles or improve project productivity, project resources reduced because we're using more collaborative areas. And one which is very close to the energy sector is around risk of critical events occurring, stopping those amount of health and safety events. And again, you can put a KM element behind that via demonstrating people had access to the right training materials. The benefits will be indirect, but I think we shouldn't be too shy about communicating that KM had a real valuable benefit towards that. And then at the organization level, it's the concept about the KM systems. So again, lessons learned captured on a project. So when you have a lessons learned project capturing 500 lessons learned, they're not really lessons learned, they're lessons identified and captured. They only become real benefit when you apply them. And let's have a look at that. It's hiding behind there. And health and safety. So the outcomes behind this is health and safety in the energy sector is the number one priority. And so again, if any of you are if you're working within that environment, or you have health and safety departments, then absolutely KM is a critical enabler for that, through faster access to content, learnings, training, and the output of that is reduce health and safety incidents. The other one, as I mentioned before, is around call centers, customer services, and everyone is a customer to the KM world. So it's improved client win rates, or improved client success rates, retention rates. So that, hopefully I'm giving you a bit of a feel here, that difference between leading and lagging. And again, through experience, become friends with your financial accountant, because they may be able to help you with monetizing some of these elements behind here. Any questions, Moira?
Let's see if I missed anything. Yes, there's a question just now coming in. Just a minute. There's first of all a note that faster access time to information belongs to process measures. If they are the saved time to drink coffee longer, it will not improve anything. Thank you, Pavel. There's a question coming from Gunnar. How do you measure and show the benefits of KM in the nuclear section? Government run, no financial interest risks, if no one is really interested. And Jana is stating that she thinks that lessons learned captured are not real lessons learned, as you mentioned.
Lessons learned captured, correct. It's when you apply those lessons learned, absolutely. And to do that, you need to have specific recommendations with accountability, and then you measure the accountability behind that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, any others, or?
There was a question of Gunnar. How do you measure the benefits if the organization is not really so interested?
Good
because
question.
They are government-based, for example.
Okay, so this next slide may help, and I'll show you the third one behind that. So when I've done this, I see benefits for knowledge and management. This is very high level, of course, but falling into three key areas which we need to consider and which we need to try to quantify in the future, if you haven't done already. So the first one is about revenue increasing, revenue maximization. And in fact, I was at the KM Dublin conference last year with one of the KM gurus, a fantastic speech. And he said, when was the last time you heard knowledge managers talking about customers? And I thought that was such a fantastic observation. Do we value our in-house organization as customers or external customers? And I think we need to go back to the whole organization is our customer, as indeed is the outside world. So that's just a mindset. So on the revenue increase, it's how KM contributed towards high quality products, increased market share through faster access to the information, and market revenue. So that's getting faster access. I call that the content piece. So we enable that, certainly, behind that. The second one, and again, most of KM benefits fall into this category, is around cost reduction or cost avoidance. So we're reducing the time to find information, or we're reducing the time to solving issues. Dare I say, unfortunately, in some climates now, it's where KM is helping to reduce the size of staff. And if you read all the press now about what AI is doing, one of the unfortunate side effects is potentially large staff losses. But again, if we're wrapping KM with AI, that's something to consider. reducing vendor costs. And then to ask that question from the government, or we work on things such as improved performance, health and safety. So this is improving the competence of our staff so that they come up to speed faster, quicker, potentially reducing the amount we spend on training staff to competencies. And there are ways in which you can measure that. You have to work quite closely with your HR and process management departments. Reducing health and safety incidents, again, as I said, there is a correlation between faster access to the right knowledge, skills, and people to safety incidences. So again, that's linking in with, as I said, health and safety officers, training behind that. And the other one's increased staff development and customer retention. So they tend to fall normally within these blocks here. And then the one I can't see, but it's hidden behind my screen, is innovation. Although I think we've really failed to really map the real benefits of what KM can add to innovation. And I know that the Mike Award is very much heavily involved between knowledge and innovation, but we need to think a lot stronger and show more evidence that KM is adding real value to the innovation lifecycle. Okay, right. So I wanted to coming towards the end now. I'm sorry about the slides, and I've been jumping around, but this is something I've captured from the work of Stan Garfield, my own observations, and others. And I wanted to leave this with you as maybe the top 15 type of outcomes which you could take to look at, to consider maybe refocusing benefits realization in your organization. I don't think they're in any particular priority. These are the ones which consistently come out as potential return on investment metrics. So I just wanted to spend a little bit of time on this. So the fastest one around improving decision-making, effective decision-making, getting the right access to the right knowledge, content, and learnings is really important. And one thing I haven't mentioned, where again I've had success in the past, is working with continuous performance improvement professionals. So again, I'm not sure if any of you have, as I mentioned before, have implemented Lean or Six Sigma. You have the concept of performance improvement specialists. They take our learnings and knowledge, and that they can actually then date operating procedures, processes to inform better, faster making of business processes. It's more active reuse of documentation, and also, as I said before, it's saving wasted time, saving costs. We make that the concept of saving the same mistakes twice. Let's see how we can reduce that amount of wastage, which again is one of the big streams, one of the big pushes on Lean and Six Sigma about avoiding wastage to make things more faster. It's faster access to the right expertise to be able to solve problems, and it's standard repeatable processes. Again, number 10 is the health and safety incident prevention. Sorry, I'm underlining, but I think it's so critical that it's certainly something which we could play a higher role and sit at that table with health and safety directors, incident managers. There's the customer services, as I mentioned before. So if any of your organizations on the call have customer services, help desks, automation, retention, you can even focus that on your own organization's IT service desks. Let's see how KM can actually offer repeatable business benefits behind that. Now 13 is around improved efficiency to the body of, I call it the body of knowledge. So that's maximizing the assets, and that's our intellectual capital. And again, I think most organizations do a really poor job of identifying it, wrapping a number around that, and then potentially maximizing it, reselling it, reusing it. And again, the whole ICAP world should fit within the knowledge management domain, or we should be certainly part of that same project. Lastly,
yes, please finish.
I think lastly, the one is about R&D and innovation. I think we've got far too few case studies about KM providing real value benefit to R&D and innovation. I think they're the lifeline of what we do. And I think, again, if we can work closer with our R&D departments, I think we could have some real business metrics coming out of that.
Some notes that we had, comments,
Please.
questions. So first of all, I'll start with the last one. There's a nice work of GoTKM now on the relationships, on the connection between R&D innovation and tacit knowledge or knowledge at all. So people can connect to it and even contribute, and there are all nice works on that. I'll start with the questions and the notes that came in the past few minutes. First of all, Pavel is noting that the group and organization outcome measures are really good ones.
Thank you.
Pavel also says that to create the link between these measures and KM, can use the KM storytelling canvas that they developed, Pavel and Manfred, within the KMGN. So people can connect this session and the session that Pavel was speaking about, the storytelling canvas. Before I continue, I want to also connect this session and this specific slide to our session with Susan Durst, who spoke about knowledge risks. When she spoke about knowledge risks, she used the term risk in a very large manner, speaking maybe about also about the costs or the risks of not managing knowledge in a wide way, also wasting time, wasting money, losing things. So in very wide perspective. And if you look at her list of 18, and she shared with us 2 papers she's written. If you look at the list there, it resonates very nicely with this list, and it adds some. And that
Excellent.
takes me to what Vincent said, that he would add number 16, preserving organization memory, that the organization knows tomorrow what they knew yesterday.
Yes, very
Jana
good.
said
Very good.
she loves number.
It's the ICAPs we use. So this is again, the ICAP piece. And Moira, I'm not sure whether you've run any sessions on ICAP, intellectual capital, but it's
not this year. Not this year. We did it 2 years ago.
Okay,
when
it's
we spoke about or last year.
Yes. It's a very specialized kind of niche area where you can actually start to monetize and add value, add monetary values to intellectual capital. But I think it's something which we need to get closer again to. Do the direct comparison before and after KM implementation. So let's measure the benefits before and after. It's always much easier to do that. One which is close to my heart is the whole adding a monetary value to success stories and lessons learned. We did something, we learned a lesson, and this lesson saved us X million dollars. You can share that with the next project. That's where some have had most of my most successes. And the last one is the whole ROI calculation, which again, you need to bring on board specialists from the financial and accounting world. So that gives you a snapshot there. And then I just wanted to finish off. Amori, I don't know how you want to play this, but I just thought from what I've discussed, it would be great to get some of your ideas about what are the kind of the 3 top benefits you'd like to think about taking away that might have switched on a light bulb.
So, you know what? Do we want to do it in groups or to do it together here?
I'm happy to do it in a group, and I'll come off.
In one group or in many groups?
What do people think?
Okay, so no, in the plenary, okay, no one is one group. So what I want to do, because you have it as bullets, and I prepared it already as a numbered list, and I think that numbered list can be easier. I'll share the numbered list.
I'll stop sharing then. Yes, I finished now. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll share this list again, so that we can see it all together. It's also on the Miro board, so don't go in, you don't have to work in the Miro board now, but I'm sharing the screen. I'll share it in several ways. First of all, I'm sharing the link to those who want to use the link. B, I'm sharing the image to those who want to see it here. No, it didn't work now. Let's retry it. Just a minute. Copy. No, it's not that. Let's see if I can copy it. No, one book copying. So I'll share my screen for a few minutes, and you all see the 9 benefits. Look at the numbers. Choose your 3 top numbers. It can be 1, 5, 7. Choose 3 numbers. Take 2-3 minutes. Choose your numbers. Here, people are starting to do it. You could look at the mirror. You could look at my board. First of all, it's wonderful to see the diversity. However, it seems that we have several winning ones. 5, 7, and 7 are the top ones. Then we will have 6 and 9, and then 6. But let's continue. Let's listen to additional people. Later on, I'll share with you the file so you can analyze it. Again, 5, 7, and 9. 5, 6, 7, 9 are the top 4.
5, 6, 7, and 9.
Yes. And if I have to choose 3 of them, so 5, 7, and 9 get more points. Now, I think that if it's okay, I'll stop sharing. And there were several comments on the way that people, Jana's adding 9, again, that people wanted to speak out, and maybe as we have a few more minutes, we'll let people share, Pavel and other people who had good, and also John, who wanted to speak about the manufacturing, the R&D manufacturing outcomes. I didn't go into all the details. So if Pavel and Jonathan can share their understandings here, I think we can all benefit from them, if it's okay with you, Hank, because you're towards the end.
Yes.
5,
indeed,
7, and 9, and then 6.
Okay.
Okay. So just my contribution. Well, first of all, thank you, Hank, for all this topic, because it is absolutely key. My understanding was always, and of course my role was always, a KM consultant who has to rely on outcomes of convincing executives and going to the next project, ideally with the same customer. And you, as a consultant, you can only reach that if you have created tangible value. And today I do it even more stronger, a value that makes the executive richer by getting his bonus because he reached his agreed goals. So a very clear, tangible outcome. So anything that is not that direct, like access to information, like increasing competency, these are all very indirect and not convincible measures to executives. I pointed it out. My favorite were, I think, 1 and 8 on this list, because if you increase market share, if you win customers, this is completely mind-blowing to executives if you can say, and we did it with KM. So that's my point from that.
No, very good. Absolutely. I think it's something which is saving the money, saving the company money, processes, time, with a tangible value. I think is value. And again, I said some of the biggest successes I've seen have been in project management. We did something in a project which managed the project finished earlier, cheaper, more effective, faster on time, and we need to wrap KM into the project teams, that we are a critical member of the project teams, and we're giving the indirect benefits, isn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
completely agree. And by the way, this is exactly where I started KM career in 98. I had to prove that knowledge management improves projects in R&D, and that was approach diagnostics in a specific area, and we did it. Yeah.
Very good. Good, thank you.
There's a short comment before we go that Chidi be speaking about that she's missing an indicator of happier staff due to reduced frustration. Staff are happier because they feel their expertise is respected and valued, or they are less worn out, etc. So that's important to state. And if Jonathan can share with us his work on R&D measurements, that would be lovely.
Happy to, Moria. Thanks very much, and thank you very much, Hank, for the great summary you've just provided. Food manufacturing R&D is frightfully expensive. So projects take many months, typically cost millions of any unit of currency. And one of the really obvious opportunities for knowledge management, I think, is to look for those situations where knowledge management has directly influenced the decision not to run with a project or to avoid repeating something that's already been done elsewhere in the organization. It seems kind of obvious, but you'd be surprised in a large global organization in which I work, such as the organization in which I work, we do a lot of repetition. There's a lot of repeat trials that go on, a lot of pilot plant work that goes on, and folks say, well, didn't you know we did this 5 years ago, we did it 10 years ago, or somebody's already working on this on the other side of the organization. So one of our goals is simply to be on the lookout for those, and where we can attribute them to making introductions or to the work of communities of practice. As you mentioned at the beginning, these are rather qualitative in their nature, and they're difficult to measure with any dollar value, anything that's financial. But if you can make that direct connection between an introduction, knowing something, which isn't directly measurable, but the outcome is you stop the project, you stop repeating, that we can quantify because we know how much the project costs. And it's a big number. And so that is always one of our go-to kind of measures. It's something that we're always looking out for.
No, very good. Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, the whole aspect there around faster go-to market with a product, faster R&D, less costs, sharing learnings between different R&D brands. I think that's some real strength behind that. Absolutely. Good.
Okay, I think that wraps the questions that we had. Do you want to add any ending?
No, I think thanks. It's been fantastic participation and really useful questions, and happy to continue the discussion through the KMGN. It's certainly something that we all need to work together to be able to achieve some success.
And I love it how all, Jan has a question, how all the sessions interconnect. It connects with the business storytelling canvas, and it connects with the knowledge risks, and later on with additional sessions we're going to have. So Jana wanted to say something. Jana, please.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Hank, for the great presentation. You mentioned a story where you quantified or monetized lessons learned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you be kind to share us like a link or a book that we can read that story from? Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a couple of. I mean, there's the work done through Ed Hoffman with the NASA. It's a great book for lessons learned, and I'll share you a couple of things also for that.
You're speaking about the lean knowledge management of NASA?
No, I think it's more the Ed Hoffman's work he did there.
The first book.
I think another one came up quite recently. Yes, but it's there's some great case studies in there. So I'll send you some links. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that takes us to the stage where we want to thank you, Hank, for a fabulous diving deep into this issue of metrics where we all were familiar with, we all worked on, but yes, you organized it, you turned it to be also deeper and richer. And I learned, thank you very much. So on behalf of all of us, thank you. Next week, here we are ending our session, our cluster of several sessions speaking about the change management. And we will be starting a few sessions, the next cluster, that will speak on this journey from strategy through change management to business impact on the culture. And next week we will have Arthur Shelley, who will be speaking about how in this journey to foster the culture of knowledge sharing, knowledge creation, and innovation. So thank you very much, everyone, and see you next week.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Hank.
Thank you, Hank.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you.
Bye-bye.